I think we're live.
Hey! Welcome to another episode of ComX Recent Reads. I'm your host, Ryan, and we've got a great panel today. Up in the top, we've got the man behind Comics Network Australia, Sis.
Woo.
In the middle, Shannon Browning.
In widescreen.
In widescreen, panoramic
Nice.
Shannon. And last but not least, the man with the most, Justin McNamara.
Howdy. Hang on. Is this recent reads? I thought it was Beard Club. I thought we weren't supposed to be talking about beard. What the hell? I'm on the wrong show. Okay. I'll do this anyway. It's all good.
I mean, this is a crossover episode. All right. So we've all been reading some cool stuff this week. And like I've said in the last episode, it's spooky season. So a lot of us have been diving into the weird, the wonderful, the unnatural, the horrific. So before we get started, I wanted to ask everyone today, what is your favorite movie monster?
I'll start.
Anyone want to? Yeah, go for it, Sis.
Cool. I'd have to say, out of all the monsters I've ever watched, the one that scared me the most and creeped me out the most when I was a kid was the Blob. I still remember that thing coming up through the sink and sucking that guy down through that sinkhole. Freaked
Like
me
the
out.
Steve McQueen Blob movie?
Yeah, the really old one. That
the
just
really,
went
really
around
old one?
dissolving people.
Yeah.
And wasn't the Sink one the Chuck Russell one from '89? The one that had Shawnee Smith in it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Oh,
still
really?
really old. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was the
I'm getting
remake.
it all mixed up.
So I never know how many.
I did a lot of
think there's been
LSD as a kid. I don't know.
three major
still a
feature
great
films,
film.
or four of the Blob.
Yeah. Blob,
Shannon.
Son of Blob, The Blob, and another one.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Shannon, what
I've
about
only,
you?
I've only ever seen I've seen the original Blob, which had one of the greatest opening theme songs ever. And then there was the Chuck Russell remake in the '80s, which is it's up there with
Must be what I'm
The
thinking
Thing
of.
and The Fly as far as movie remakes go. It's a really, really good film.
Yeah, they're the three.
Mm.
They're the three remakes.
Yeah, everything else sucked.
But do you have a favorite movie monster?
Well, as you can see, this side. I'm kind of a fan. But my personal favorite has always been Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Nice.
I gotta see
And,
this.
like, That movie, they've been trying to do a remake of that for so long, and have just never gotten around to it. I even started writing a script for it at one point. But I've heard that James Wan is taking a crack at it at the moment. So we'll wait and see if they actually get that off the ground.
One of my favorite things about that movie is Rico Browning. So the guy who was actually in the monster suit
Yeah.
was a Navy freediver or something like that when he was younger, and he could hold his breath for a ridiculous amount of time. So all those underwater scenes are actually him in the suit swimming around for real. Like there was no let's pretend we're underwater. No, they actually dumped him in the water and they got him to swim down and hold his breath and do all those scenes, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. There's a great documentary about the making of it. It was on the DVD release when it came out. And they interviewed Rico, and he spoke all about it, about being in the suit. Like he was taking them around, doing some location scouting, and they were filming underwater. And they would say to him, "Look, jump in and swim around in front of us, so we've got something in the shot for some scale." And one of them just said, "You know what? I like the way you swim. You can be the monster." He was the underwater monster. There was another actor who was the above water monster. So they had two suits made from the same mold. I think Rico had a thinner chest, so they had to take chunks out of it in the middle. And unless you see them side by side, you wouldn't really notice.
And Rico only passed away a few years ago, so
He
He's
passed
actually-
away either this year or last year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like the last remaining Golden Age monster.
yeah.
It's pretty
And,
cool.
and as you said, his full name. Look closely at my last name.
Browning.
Yep. Like I remember finding out that the creature from the Black Lagoon had my name when I was a kid and just flipped out. I
Well,
don't think
stuff
we were.
like that is cool when you're a kid, though. It gives
Oh
you like
yeah,
some connectedness.
yeah.
What
So
about you, Justin?
Boy, I'm a big horror guy, so this is like a really difficult question. I think if I'm to really talk about like there's designs of the classic ones and all the rest of it that are just like beautiful things, but I think if I'm going to go monsters that surprised me and I love them because of the surprise, I'm gonna be that guy and pick two. One of them is what Shannon mentioned before, The Thing from John Carpenter's The Thing. Like that was such a great monster that just continually evolved throughout that film, and it's spectacular. And the other one's a little bit more obscure, but in Creepshow 2, there's a story called The Raft,
oh,
and there's an oil slick that eats people, and it's the most surprising monster in a film ever. And even though it's not like this beautifully designed piece of art, it's literally just like a black plastic bag covered with egg in a swamp. What it actually does makes it such a spectacular monster, and the end bit, I'm not going to spoil it, but the end bit of that film is such a great surprise that you sort of stand up on your chair and just clap your hands because it's such a great surprise. And I think that the best monsters are the ones that really surprise you, and I think that that oil slick from Creepshow 2, the raft story, is amazing.
yeah. Very close cousin to the Blob.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, like you said, Justin, like the simplicity of it, because it was literally just a tarp that they were pulling through the water. But it was all the reactions of the humans and like a bunch of other things that happened as well that made it scary as hell. I remember like that was one of the few things I saw as a kid. And yeah, that creeped the hell out of me. I don't even remember any of the other stories from Creepshow 2, but that one, yeah, that sticks out.
Oh, come on, Shannon. The hitchhiker. Thanks for the ride, lady.
Oh yeah. Like, what was she bragging about? Like, 7 orgasms or something like that? Yeah.
Amateur.
Mine is probably the xenomorph from the Alien universe.
Oh, of course.
Just because I think like Mystique gets me as well. So like, there's so many monsters out there. Like we know so much about Dracula, Frankenstein, the Wolfman as like created beings, but then there's still so much mystery around the how, where, the what, and the why of like the xenomorph. Like even with all the expanded stuff they've done now with like Romulus and Prometheus and the prequels and the sequels and all that sort of stuff. But it's still, to me, one of those just eternally creepy monsters. Like you can't go past it. And the fact that now it's in like comics and it's in sort of every other avenue of entertainment has had a sort of spillover from this creature. I mean, they're doing Xenomorph versus Avengers now. That Marvel's got the license, so yeah, it's probably my favourite. That and the Wolfman.
You just like the Wolfman because you got the same beard. This is Beard Club all over again, isn't it?
No, but I did get obsessed by. I've watched it like 15 times. The Marvel mini movie Werewolf by Night.
I still haven't watched that. I keep forgetting about it.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah. Like it, and it also introduced Man Thing.
Yeah.
Elsa Bloodstone, Man Thing.
How giant size was he?
Oh, he's
He was
a
pretty
giant-sized Man Thing. Yeah.
A much better cinematic experience than his original cinematic experience.
Oh, how dare you! That had Imogen Bailey in it. How dare you say that? That had Jack Thompson and Imogen Bailey in it. How dare you talk foul of that film?
It had Bill Bailey. It had Jack Thompson. It didn't have Man Thing in it. Man-Thing literally shows up for about less than 20 seconds in the last 5 minutes of the film.
Yeah, but
Oh, wow.
there was a reason. There actually is a reason for that. It was an MA film, and in an MA film, you can't show a Man-Thing for too long full frontal.
They were like, you can have
Just
one
seen
shot
that
of the
coming.
Man-Thing.
Oh
That's
God, he'll be here all week. Tip your waitress.
All right, should we get into some reads?
Yeah, boy.
Try to elevate the conversation a bit.
Before we get into that, just remember to like, share, subscribe, help us grow the channel, help us make Recent Reads everything we want it to be and more. And let us know what you think of the new format. So we've switched over from Streamyard to FMux, whole different group of settings and features. We're still trying to get our heads around it ourselves. So tonight's show is a little bit more bare bones. We're not going to have any of the videos and special effects and all that kind of stuff. But we'll get through it the best we can. And hopefully we'll have it all shiny and fancy by next week.
It doesn't need special effects when you got performers like these four, really, do you?
we are the special effects. This beard's not real.
Mine neither. You should
This is
see
a
me
real
normally.
beard, but the head's fake.
This is all just my ComX image. You know?
I like it.
I'm just going to check some comments before we get started. See who's in the room.
Yeah. Oh, that's what it looks like when you bring them up. I was curious about that.
Yeah.
I didn't want to bring one up in case it blocked all of us or something.
Thanks for joining us again, Jeffrey. We are going to tell you how to spend your money. We're going to tell you how, where, and why. Carol, thanks for joining us.
Hello, Mum.
Nick May in the house. Thanks for joining us, Nick.
Hey, Nick.
Twilight of the Dark Master.
That might have been the monster.
That may be a monster. That might have something to do with creepy. Not sure. Spency in the house.
G'day, mate.
Diggs, hello.
What's that?
I'm just seeing people joining us from different places as well, which is fantastic to see.
Yeah, I've this gave me the option to put it out to more places than the old thing.
Thank you, Shawnee. Appreciate it. I like the new layout as well.
Yes.
And it is a lovely colour purple.
It is, isn't it? Lots of purple. I went crazy.
Thanks for joining us, Andrew. Andrew did some phenomenal work on Drink and Draw on Friday night. So
Yes.
make sure you jump on the socials and check out all the awesome crow artwork that was dropped for Drink and Draw. Other than that, let's move into some reviews.
I have a surprise
Dave
for you.
Dye.
Oh, Dave Dye's in there. Good stuff. He was asking where we were earlier because we started a bit late.
Right.
Here we are.
Does anyone want to jump in with their review?
I can because it's really easy.
Yeah, go for it.
Can anyone guess? Can anyone guess?
You didn't have time to read something this week?
I've been so flat out this week. All I've read is a textbook for my class, so I won't show that. I've done that before in recent reads. It was funny once. I don't think it'll be funny twice. So, yeah, that's me. So this show's going to have 3 reviews. Sorry to say.
Well, maybe
I'll try
take
to
a
think of
moment.
something that I've read a long time ago, and I'll come in at the end with that. How's that?
Tell everyone where they can grab some awesome Aussie comics.
Oh, well, of course, because we haven't got the ad anymore. You can go to the ComX shop. You can put in comx.shop, and that's a redirect to the real shop. Or you can just go to comx.net.au, and that takes you to the site that will have everything on it. And the shop is one of those things. So top right menu is shop. So,
And there's a lot of
Well,
books
lots
that we've talked about in the past couple of months ready to ship out. So they're just sitting there in the store waiting for you.
just sitting there. Behind me, actually. That's what you can see. That is the shop. Oh, and there's a few over there as well.
Nice to see a big box of poo heads behind you there, Sis.
Yeah, you can see that, can you? Good
Yeah.
stuff. I haven't bothered putting. They're more protected in there than they are in there because they're the wrong size for those black boxes.
Fantastic.
So Shannon and Justin, does anyone want to go first with their review?
Shannon, you go. Let's go down the list.
We'll keep it linear.
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to talk
You want
tonight
me to bring it up?
about DC's Doomsday Clock.
Nice.
Now, Doomsday Clock was the unofficial sequel to Alan Moore's Watchmen. It was written by Jeff Jones, art by Gary Frank, and like this is a story. Like I really enjoyed this. Now there are a lot of people who refused to read it and complained about it because what DC did to Alan Moore and what DC did to Alan Moore in regards to Watchmen was bullshit. Like they managed to find like varied and unique ways to screw him over so many different ways when it came to Watchmen that it almost destroyed his love of superheroes. It was so bad what happened to him. Yeah, look it up if you want to and check out exactly what was going on. So from that point of view, yes, I can see what they were doing. But as someone who like loves Watchmen as a story and loves the characters, I thought this was actually like a really good story, extraordinarily respectful, very well done. This is the story where they bring some of the Watchmen characters into the DC universe. Oh. So you get to see things like Rorschach interact with Batman. The comedian gets brought back and is interacting with different characters. They introduce a couple of new characters I think they're called Punch and Judy. That's them there. That's very reflective, by the way. But yeah, that's them.
Very shiny.
But they also explore this thing. They come up with they're exploring the question of why are there so many superheroes and supervillains in America as opposed to the rest of the DC Earth. And this whole conspiracy is leveled out that foreign interests are funding and arming individuals to become supervillains to cause as much problems in America as they possibly can to destabilize it, so they, it can help their interests overseas. And it comes down to not really a battle, but like more of a battle of. It's not even a battle of wits. It's more a battle of perspective between Dr. Manhattan and Superman at the end. I think it's a really good read. I mean, Jeff Johns is a very talented writer. He did a terrible job of running a cinematic universe, but we'll, give him the benefit of the doubt on that. But
we don't have to. We don't have to give him the benefit of the doubt on that. Tar and feather.
I'm so glad it's dead. It sucked. All right. Anyway, I had a friend of mine ring me up last night just to wish me a happy birthday, and we spoke for an hour and a half just slagging off Zack Snyder and what he did to all that shit. But we'll go into that. But who was the artist? Yeah, Gary Frank. Who I read his Supergirl run back in the day, back in the 90s when they melded like the Matrix version of Supergirl with a human girl, and like she turned out to be an Earthborn angel and all that sort of stuff. It made more sense when you actually read it. But his art, I think, has always been beautiful, and his artwork is also very similar to Dave Gibbons from the original graphic novel. So they've used like a similar sort of panel grid. So they used the 9 panel grid for telling the story. The whole thing is extraordinarily respectful to the original run. Like I just mentioned that Rorschach's in it, but and spoilers, and I apologize. You do find out there's a different identity for Rorschach, so it's not like they just we'll just bring him back from the dead. Adrian Veidt is in it after he did his giant weapon at the end. They play on the fact at the end of Watchmen, Rorschach's journal was given to that newspaper, so the whole world's like out to hunt down Adrian Veidt. They found out that he lied. Yeah, I think it's great. I really, really do enjoy it. I invested in they had it come out in 2 trade paperbacks, and they sold the first one. They sold part 1, and it came with this hardcover slip. So I bought that, and then I think it was about 8 months later they came out with the second part. I don't know if the 2 parts are still available with the hardcover, but I highly recommend it. And if you get a chance to read it, read it with an open mind. Don't Watchmen is one of those titles that everybody thinks, can't be touched, shouldn't be going anywhere near. But Alan Moore just created such amazing characters, and they worked so well in that story that you did want to know more about them. And he led up to a point where you want to know what happened after that point at the end of Watchmen. And I think this is a really, really good, really, really good follow-on to that. But that's my opinion.
Well, I remember from reading the lead into it, and DC, they did they teased it out so well with the lead into the Watchmen joining the DC universe, like that whole rebirth era, like the button question and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
That sort of kicked off the storyline kicked off in The Flash, I believe, and then it evolved from there. And I just thought they did a great job of actually hinting at it before it even dropped.
Yeah.
So, I know that I was super excited for it. What was that?
That was a good 2 or 3 years before that came out. Like they did the thing with the Flash, and they set up the button, and they hinted at Dr. Manhattan being in the universe. But it was a long time before Doomsday Clock finally came out, and they started giving.
Well, because they did that whole rebirth era, and then they got to the end, and then they sort of scrapped it, and you realize that it was like this whole.
It was Dr. Manhattan experimenting.
It was like everyone got reset, Like that was the great thing about it. It gave DC an opportunity to sort of include them and go in fresh at the same time.
Yeah. Shannon, do any of the Watchmen get to meet their Charlton counterparts?
Dr. Manhattan meets Captain Atom.
Fantastic.
Yeah. That's the one that I remember, and then I'll point out. I don't remember if many of the others did. Like I'd
love to have seen Rorschach and the Question beat up each other.
I would like to see Rorschach and the Question debate each other. I think that'd be much more fun than watching them trade blows.
100%.
There were some fantastic episodes of the HBO series. I thought it was great.
Yeah, really
epic in scope.
I thought that was brilliant. I thought they did that really well, especially because it was the sequel to the comic book. They didn't do it as a sequel to the movie.
Yep.
And it didn't take, that series didn't take away from this, and this didn't take away from that series at all. It was just 2 different depictions of pretty much the same event. But yeah, I think there can still be a lot done with Watchmen, but it's the fear of any franchise. You think with what happened with Terminator, the first 2 Terminator movies were brilliant and revolutionary, and it was a great story and stuff. And now if they announce another Terminator movie, you almost sigh, give it a rest, just let it die. And you don't want that happening with something like this. So if they do another story every 10 years or every 15 years, I'm good with that.
Got a question for you, Shannon, from Jeffrey.
Is it as stoic and poetic as the OG?
It's
Good
hard.
question.
It's hard to replicate
Yeah.
Alan Moore's
Um,
language.
they didn't. They continued on. They didn't try to like speak in Alan Moore's voice, and Alan Moore like really made a lot of that stuff with the stoicness and the poeticness came from Alan Moore. This is a Jeff Johns story. Jeff Johns loves interconnected stories. He loves the minutia of what's canon and the theology and the theory and all that sort of stuff of it. So that's a little bit more what this book is in. Alan Moore was just he wanted. His daughter said once upon a time that Alan Moore just loves superheroes so much that he wanted everyone to take them as seriously as he did. And that was the mentality of going into Watchmen. He just said, like, these are fascinating characters, but if they were in the real world, they would be damaged. Um, so, yeah, like that, it does show the damage of the Watchmen characters, but it also does show like the damage of a lot of the DC characters in it. Like there's this whole subplot with Firestorm that is really interesting to read as well. I don't want to spoil it. It shows elements of Batman and his interaction with Alfred. It shows like some of the characters from the Golden Age, so the Justice Society and that sort of thing, and some of the stuff that they had to go through moving forward, especially because that nobody remembers them. They existed, but they didn't exist. But they still have memories of what happened, sort of thing. Like, what's her name? Satin Girl from the Legion of Superheroes?
Yeah.
Like, she's a major character in it. But she doesn't have her costume. She doesn't have her flight ring. She's not swooping around or anything like that. She's this girl that's in an asylum because she keeps on telling everybody that she's from the future and she can read minds. And if someone showed up and said that to you, you wouldn't immediately go, "Oh, who wins the election next month?" You'd just go, "Sure, you're nuts. I'm just going to back away slowly."
That's true.
All right, thank you, Shannon.
You're welcome.
The thing I wished with Doomsday Clock, if I could just change one thing about the whole story,
Yeah.
it would be I wish it was coloured by John Higgins. I wish it had that same tonal continuity between the original Watchmen story and Doomsday Clock. If it was all coloured by John Higgins, I think that it would just be so much more seamless. But you can't have everything you want.
Yeah. And once again, like it's almost a legacy sequel rather than a sequel. It's like what they're doing nowadays, where they do. I was about to say Beetlejuice. That's a bad example, but like, all right, like we'll get one or two of the characters from the film that you loved, and we'll give them sort of cameos or moments. But we're now telling a whole new story, so it's a new shooting style, it's a new directing style, it's a new art style, even a new coloring style. I think Ghostbusters Afterlife is probably a good example for that.
Yep.
Where it's just like, all right, yep, all of that happened. We're gonna drag the old guys in at the very end because they're old and they're too damn expensive. But we're telling a different story in a different style that just happens to happen in this universe.
Cool.
Yeah, that's my opinion.
Cool. I mean, I agree. I agree with pretty much everything you've said about the book. And I believe it's collected in a few different ways now. So I'm sure if viewers go to their local comic book store, they'll be able to get you a version of Doomsday Clock somewhere along the lines if you want to check it out. Justin.
That'll be me.
Yeah,
so,
what do you got for us?
Well, it's still a horror fan's Christmas, so of course I've gone for another horror comic. I'm a big fan of sort of classic horror stuff, have been for years, and I've got a bunch of these collections. And this is Creepy Presents Bernie Wrightson. Now, Bernie Wrightson's probably the guy that most horror comic artists wish that they were, and if they don't wish they were Bernie Wrightson, they need to go back and read some Bernie Wrightson. Quite simply, Bernie Wrightson co-created Swamp Thing with Len Wein. He did an amazingly beautiful illustrated version of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, or the modern Prometheus, whatever you want to call it. And I think he illustrated Stephen King's Cycle of the Werewolf as well.
Sure did.
His art is spectacular. And in this, Creepy was from Warren Magazines. They're also responsible for Eerie, like I said before. I think they did 1984, which was a science fiction mag. And, of course, Vampirella was where that started. Now, this book is a collection of the work that he did for Creepy and Eerie. It's got a foreword by Bruce Jones, who he worked with quite frequently in these years. And then it's got collaborations with Nicola Cutie, Bill DeBay, Howard Chaykin's got some work in there, Carmine Infantino. So, like, some real classic sort of comic people. And then there's also an adaptation of a H.P. Lovecraft story and also an Edgar Allan Poe story. I think that for me, the highlights were there's a story in here called, so he does an adaptation of Edgar Allan Poe's The Black Cat. And just an example of the work, this is, if you like black and white art, my friends, this is black and white art at its finest. This is an amazing use of blacks all the way through it. So that's the Black Cat, which is the guy who murders his wife and hides her in the wall of the basement, based on the classic detective story. My favorite story in here is a story called Jennifer. I actually put bookmarks in here so I didn't have to search them, and of course the bookmark that I wanted has fallen out. Jennifer, some people might know, Dario Argento directed a TV version of the story for a TV series called Masters of Horror. That show's probably 15 or 20 years old now, but it had Dario Argento, who's of course the director of Suspiria, Inferno, and things like that. And it's about a man who finds a guy in the woods about to kill a young girl with an axe. The poor girl is horribly deformed, and he saves her only to find that she's not right, if you know what I mean. And just as an example of some of the amazing work that Wrightson does, he did a version of H.P. Lovecraft's Cool Air, and you look at the detail in this. So this is the opening splash page of the story Cool Air. Like, double windows, every single slat in the louvered windows. Wow. It's just stunning work with just so much detail in it. And his work is somehow cartoony, but like still horrific as well. He also did a story he called The Muck Monster, which is very much his love of Frankenstein is obviously in it, and it's a real good precursor to Swamp Thing. It's very much like the Swamp Thing if he was more human than anything else. And Wrightson did a whole pile of because Creepy and Eerie were very much that anthology comic. It had comic hosts, and so he did a lot of the introductions that had there was Uncle Creepy and Cousin Eerie, and so he would do these magnificent portraits of these characters that are again absolutely terrifying but beautifully cartoony as well. This is a book from a series of books that I think Dark Horse produced. Yeah, so Dark Horse produced these. There's also a Richard Corbin one. There's an El Cid one. There's a Steve Ditko one, and there's another one, and my brain has just jumped out of my head and left the world. There's also a few series of you can actually get like collected volumes of Creepy and Eerie that are like a good 10 to 15 issues worth, all bound together in like an omnibus. And I think there's like each comic. So Vampirella, creepy and eerie. I don't know if they've done 1984, but you can actually get all of them in as a series of books, so you can have the entire volumes of these things. But they're just stunning, and like Wrightson's work, I say all the time with my own drawing is that there's artists who I look at their work and I think, why am I bothering? Just give up. And Wrightson's one of those people where whenever I try to do a pen and ink drawing and use like a brush to ink my work, I'll get halfway through it and it'll be like, this isn't like Wrightson's. I should just stop now. But yeah, it's stunning. His work is just astounding, and the stories are, even though they are sort of that, they're quite cartoony, as you saw by what I showed you. They're actually quite terrifying stories, and if you can track down that Masters of Horror episode of Jennifer, it's worth a watch, because like it was, I think it's peak Argento. I really love it. And Argento hadn't really had much of a hit since sort of the late 80s. And for him to come back in that TV show and do an adaptation of a Bruce Jones and Bernie Wrightson story in such a magnificent way, it was totally worth it.
And I think that Wrightson is one of those illustrators that just transcends comics, very much like your Frank Frazetta, your Jack Kirby. Like, his style, his influence on the medium, like sort of transcends comics into just art and illustration in general.
100%.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
you look at the making of Return of the Living Dead, I think it's William Stout who designed the zombies in there. And when you see those initial artworks that he did, they're like dipped in Wrightson. Like and Stout's a great artist in his own right. And to have a look at his work on Return of the Living Dead in those very preliminary drawings of like Trash as a zombie and the Tar Man and stuff like that. I mean, even the Tar Man realized as an actual costume looks like something that Wrightson would have done.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yep. And
as always, if anyone watching's got any questions for any of our guests about what they've read, just shout out in the comments.
Just while we're testing this, can the people in the audience see their comments on the left of the screen here? I'm just curious if you can read it, because my screen's tiny, so I can't read it.
I've got it open in a different window, and yes, you can see it.
Okay, cool.
I also just realized that we have our logos beside our name there.
Yep.
We can do, yes.
Yeah. I didn't realize that. I just saw it while Justin was talking. So,
Yep. Got a lot of yeses from the crowd.
Oh, good stuff.
Remember to like, subscribe, share, all that. Keeps us going, grows the channel, and gets us access to more toys down the line. All right, I guess it's on to me. So this week, I wanted to sort of pay tribute to one of the previous hosts of this show, and I got into the first 3 issues of Ed Kearsley's Radical.
Ah, awesome. Well, Radical.
It is radical indeed. Phenomenal book, set in Melbourne, about a new vigilante superhero who's on the beat, Max Masterson, trying to figure out who he is and what his powers are and where he fits into the vigilante world. It's got so much going for it, this book. It's kind of... It's got huge early Ditko Spider-Man vibes. That young guy, unsure of himself and his abilities, sort of trying to overcome obstacles and just get through his life, but sort of keeps getting into trouble every time he turns around. And then throw in like the comedy of like a Mark Miller kick-ass story. So it sort of treads that line between being quite a traditional, earnest, coming-of-age superhero sort of book, with a violent, funny bit of filth thrown in there, superhero comic, in the vein of Kick-Ass. So this one is completely created, written and drawn, by Ed Kearsley, with colours by Kat Melvin, and the art is really great. It's high quality for a small scale indie book being created
Mm.
predominantly by a single creator. Um, but he encounters characters. The first bad guy that he encounters on his patrols, is dressed in a gimp outfit, and
Same.
when you hurt him and cause him pain, he gets aroused and he gets stronger. So you kind of get to go on the journey with Max as he figures that out, which is wonderful. Um, you learn a bit about the relationships, the people in his life, and he sort of fights a villain, tries to figure out, how he can take him down. Because his powers are brand new, he kind of doesn't really know what he's doing. I picked up the first 3 issues at the same time because I knew that I was going to, want to keep cracking on with the series, like, pretty much straight away. So I got issue 1, issue 2, which sort of, he teams up with another vigilante. Um, I read them so quickly because I wanted, not just because I wanted to get through them, but I was like excitedly reading. There's a lot of things that didn't, really soak in at the time. But, issue 2, he wakes up in Mexico. He doesn't really know how he gets there, and the story sort of transitions between him being, in Melbourne on the beat, and then him in Mexico, trying to figure out why he's there, and how he got there, which may involve, having explosive diarrhea. Um, but in issue 2,
I got that.
he takes on a fantastic villain named Laserballs.
Who shoots lasers from his balls. I love that. That's my favorite villain ever of any comic ever.
All the heroes and villains have like nods to pre-existing, heroes and villains from comics lore, but then they're like, tweaked, so they're like they've been made weird. Um, and there's something so very Aussie about the way that it's done as well. Like there's a female, vigilante villain, and she's got giant hands and a mullet, and she's called Slapper.
Oh, that's a classic.
But he ends up finding out that there's a lot of heroes out there. He's not alone, and maybe there's more to the picture than meets the eye. Like maybe there's something bigger coming down the pipeline, and, he sort of develops a bit of a mentor, and the mentor's telling him, you need to be prepared because something's coming. Um, we find out one of the things I love about, the world that Ed's created is we find out that, the old gods, so the gods from like ancient Greek and Roman history and things like that, they weren't gods. They were just superheroes of that time. Like so, they were just people that had powers. And when the gods died out for a long time, there were no more people with superpowers, and now they're starting to come back, and they're all kind of localized around Melbourne for some reason. And part of the big thing that I think is going to get explored in super issues is exploring how that fits into the wider narrative, and how that is going to, like, how are they eventually going to have to team up to overcome this coming darkness. But that's the cover to number 3 as well. And they've all got the fantastic, like, superhero covers. Like, they got the covers that you want in a superhero comic. And because Ed's an amazing guy, and I back his Patreon, when I bought all 3 books, he threw in a sketch cover.
Cool.
Oh, cool.
That's radical.
I've been bugging constantly about one of his work in progress books that he's putting out, a extended and completed version of Final Dragon, which you can pick up in ComX Presents 1, 2, and 3. But he's putting it all together into a single issue, and it's sort of got heavy Double Dragon vibes, which was a massive part of my childhood. So I've been bugging him because I'm so keen for that book. It's outrageous. So he sent me this amazing sketch cover of one of the Final Dragon characters, but he's dressed in sort of a radical-inspired outfit.
Oh, he is too.
And if anyone wants something like this, you can hit up Ed, because he does have blank sketch covers for Radical number 1. So if you do want to grab some original art, support a great Aussie creator, jump on it, because I know that he's
Patreon.
Yeah, and subscribe to his Patreon as well. You get behind-the-scenes access to all the different projects that he's working on. You get to have your say. You get to chip in. You get to say what you like, what you don't like, and sort of have that conversation. And Ed's a pretty easy guy to talk to once you get him talking. But he's an open book as a creator, so he's more than willing to share his process and thoughts with you as he sort of goes through the motions of getting a few more projects into print. So that's been my favourite book that I've read probably in the last month or so, actually.
The ComX store has skateboards too with Radical as well, doesn't it?
Yes, you can get a limited edition Radical
shiny
skateboard.
Yeah. I'm not sure how many are left because they're all stored down at Ed's place. I only have the one. That's mine. It's mine. You can't buy it. But there's still a whole bunch in the store for sale. Different sizes too. I didn't even know skateboards came in sizes, but there you go.
I believe last time we spoke to Ed about it, he said he does have some still in stock.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's pretty
So
cool.
you can be the coolest guy in the playground.
If any of us were in a playground, someone to call the cops.
Now, we've got a surprise if you're finished, Ryan. Are you finished? I'm not interrupting.
Yeah, I am done.
Well, we had someone not be able to get on because of technical issues. And then there was a bit of a mix-up. I thought he was on next week. He thought he was on this week. So what the hell? He's on this week. We have Dave Dye. Hopefully he can hear us and we can hear him.
Oh, there's the man himself.
Hey, Dave.
G'day, everyone.
Hey, Dave.
Hey.
Finally got on here.
Sorry, buddy.
That's
I got to
all right.
start out, Dave, by asking you the same question that I asked everyone else to kick off the show. What's your favourite movie monster?
We've got Movie Monster.
Nomi from Showgirls.
Or parts of it.
No, I don't know. I don't know if I have one. I suppose Frankenstein's the old. Frankenstein's good, but maybe Dracula. I've probably seen more Dracula movies than anything else. So he'd probably be a favourite in his many renditions by different actors, etc. You're talking about movies, aren't you? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, a week or two ago, I've watched your show for the last few weeks and all that sort of thing, and I was thinking I could have a go at that. I reckon I could get on there and I could dribble as much shit as you rest of you blokes out of comic I've read.
It's a gift, Dave. I mean, we've practiced for years.
Yeah, well, I'll do my best. I'm pretty good at dribbling shit, anyways. So, but
Good stuff.
I've had years of practice. Anyway, what I thought I might have a discussion about is a comic series that I've recently reread, and I've got my camera here so you can actually see what I'm going on about.
Oh, he's getting fancy.
Get the right camera going.
Let's hope it works with this software. Oh, modern technology, people, don't you love it?
There.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, yes.
the name.
Right. Okay. So this is this originally was I had to look up Google and that to find out a little bit of the background info behind it. This is something that, as a lot of you know, I've got a military background, so I've sort of drawn to this style of genre. Drawn in more ways than one, I guess you might say. That's a joke.
Nice.
So this was originally a series that went from 1986 to 1993. There was 84 issues. Now I didn't realise it was that went for that long and it was that huge. It was originally started as the fifth to the first was the germ, the seed that germinated into the NAM, or the NAM, as I sort of say it. The fifth to the first was a sort of a small 3 or 4 page strip or comic that was in a comic called Savage Tales. The editor was Larry Hamer. He was approached by Jim Shooter of Marvel to create a bigger comic, have its own run, and this is how the NAM started. So Larry Hamer was the editor and Doug Murray was the writer. Now, both Larry and Doug were Vietnam vets. They'd both been over there, so they knew what it was all about. And they enlisted the services of Michael Golden to do the penciling. So there you go. This was envisaged, I think it was just going to be a short run, but it proved to be quite successful. And that's right. This is a collected set that I've got here because it came out as individual comics monthly. In this set that I've got here, there's 4 issues in each one, and they're the covers there, all drawn by Michael Golden. His work is superb.
You can't get much better than that era of Michael Golden.
Yeah, that's right. Well, he loved drawing technical stuff because the helicopters and the rifles, the equipment, tanks, APCs, vehicles are all drawn to a very high standard. Look at that. That's the cover there for issue number 2. He also did the colouring for this. Now, I'm not that impressed with the colouring. I think it could have been probably done by someone else, and it might have been done a little bit better. But anyway, he did it, and that's what we've got. But it's still a very good comic series representing life for an American soldier in Vietnam. This was going to be, well, the way they set it out is every issue was a month in the heroes or the main character's tour of duty. So this is the main character, Ed Marks, PFC Ed Marks. So each episode, each series, each issue, I said, is a month. It represents a month. So for the first 12 issues, it's the story of Ed Marks and the characters he meets, the things that happen, going on leave in Saigon and meeting ladies who they take him down an alley and he gets hit over the back of the head and robbed, that sort of thing. So not just what was going on in the boonies, but also what was happening in the camp. Now it's very interesting here. You've got this top sergeant who works in the orderly room, this big American black Negro, American African American, yeah, and he's got the gold teeth and all that sort of stuff, and he's after kickbacks. If you want a cushy posting, you drop him a few bucks, and you're posted elsewhere, to a nice cushy posting. But Ed Marks doesn't know that, so he just I'm not giving you money, and he ends up in the frontline unit. Anyway, he gets his comeuppance in the end. He gets caught. Well, but that hasn't happened until there's a few issues into it. It's a very good, well written, well told, and excellent art. As you can see, these covers are fantastic. Yeah, look at that. Beautiful.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
And
that's wonderful.
So that goes. The first three that I bought covered the 12 months of his tour, but actually they snuck in one extra issue in there which dealt on the background and the Viet Cong story, the North Vietnamese story. So Ed Marks didn't actually march out or end his tour until episode 13. So that's where this one, so it was on the 12th issue that he left. And there he is. This has got shinier pages, so it reflects a bit. But that's him just getting on the plane there and leaving. But all in all, it's a great series. I really enjoy it. Maybe, I'm not sure. A lot of people don't like war stories and that sort of thing. I know Roger Stitson always tells me he's not interested in reading war stories. Maybe you've got to have a special sort of bent to your brain to be into that sort of stuff, but I love them. And so I recommend this to anyone who wants to find out a bit more about the Vietnam War. It's not all glory stuff. It tells the good and the bad. So yeah, that's my little review on the Nam.
Wonderful. And it's smart marketing by Marvel Comics to put that tail end bit into the fourth trade. Just it sort of makes you pick up the fourth one just so you get that. That ending, that proper ending for the character.
That's right. I don't think they've released the whole 84 issues in trade paperback. I think they've got this one. This is a different set. Initially, it was just these three, I think. And then they came out. They're not printed on glossy paper. It's more matte sort of stuff. But then maybe people probably said, hey, you haven't got the issue where he leaves. So then they may have re-released these as a separate. You can see that's a more painted type of cover, a different style. There's actually 6 issues in this one. No, there's 10 issues. 10 issues in this one, 10 issues in the companion, and they brought out a third which has another 10. So there's 30 all up. I don't know if they're going to bring out another one or not.
Cool.
So you're going to have people hunting through the the bins at Supernova next month in Brisbane and Adelaide. We'll find back issues of
Yeah.
Them now.
Yeah, that's right. Well, if you like Michael Golden art, he's got an interesting style, and I can relate to this because I'm a bit the same. The figures are quite cartoony,
I brought you too soon.
quite cartoony, but his his backgrounds, his hardware, his the helicopters and everything like that, very realistic. So you've got a contrast between the two styles of drawing, styles of art. Some parts are very tight, and others quite loose and cartoony. But it works. I like it.
Yeah, all of the tanks and the guns and everything in it are drawn with such technical expertise. It's amazing.
Yeah, I was trying to. Yeah, he really does a great job on these helicopters, and he gets them from all different angles. Have a look at this helicopter. It's all getting hit by ground fire there, and it's just getting obliterated. But he's got all different angles underneath, from on top, from in front, 3/4 angle, from the back looking forward. Just amazing. But even a reporter goes out with them on one issue, and the camera. Look at the detail in the camera and that. Yeah, very good,
mate.
Awesome, Dave.
All right, that's it.
It's so funny you should have brought that, Dave, because I'm literally, I've just dug out all of my individual issues of them to read.
Oh, no way.
I've got the one right now is the full set, and I've been slowly going through them.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that is coincidence, isn't it?
Just we moved recently, and I discovered them while we moved, and had completely forgot that I had them all, and decided to start them from scratch.
Ah, yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, you'll enjoy it. I haven't read them for ages, and I don't know what's inspired me. Just the other day, I must have just picked it up. I picked it up for reference for for the comic I'm drawing at the moment, and that's the man there. I'll grab that out and have a look at how. And then I thought, just started reading it. Stop work. I'm reading. so I went through my whole lot in a day and a bit. It was good.
It's a hazard of collecting, isn't it? You start to reorganize something, and next minute it's 2 hours later, and you're laying on the floor reading something you haven't read for 10 years.
Yes, I know that so well.
Yes, I know. Yeah, it's a pleasant hazard, I guess you'd say, isn't it?
100%.
And what's great as well is so Larry Hama also very famously did the G.I. Joe comics for Marvel as well. So very much into war comics from like every angle. So you got the more serious side of things with the NAM, and then you got the more action orientated stuff with the Marvel comics. So,
yeah,
and then sci-fi as well, because he did a Call of Duty comic for based on the video game for Dark Horse about 5 or 6 years ago as well. He was also, believe it or not, in MASH.
Yeah.
He played a Korean soldier in MASH. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, very versatile.
Yeah,
sort of one of those legendary comics figures now. Like he's had 1 million lives in one.
Yeah, he was in a band in the 70s, and all of that sort of stuff. He's done it all.
He's been in martial arts films. He's been in all sorts of things.
Wow.
I think he's native-born American, but he's Asian descent.
Yeah.
Hama. It's probably Japanese descent. Hama.
Yeah.
It's something. Yeah.
Yeah, he posts stuff on Facebook of his entire comic history constantly, and he'll just casually post a photo of like me and the gang, and it's like every single legend of Marvel Comics from the 70s all in one photos, and you just sit there and go, I would have liked to have spent just 2 minutes in that room with you, Larry.
Yeah, he'll post a photo and it'll be like him, Howard Chaykin, Bernie Wrightson, Bill Sienkiewicz,
Yeah.
like all these people like just together in the same room, just hanging out.
And it literally is usually titled "Hanging Out," and it's like,
Yeah.
you son of a...
And there's always someone not wearing a shirt.
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
Always.
Okay, what's going on there?
Yeah. 70s, man.
It was the 70s.
70s, man.
Oh, you never know. One day people might look back at this. Oh, you remember the old Ryan Christopher and Shannon Browning and Sizzle and Justin all sitting there around gibbering. Used to see them getting together, and they're legends of the time.
Mate, I reckon this time next year that'll happen.
And Sizzle's always taking his shirt off.
And that's the thing. That's the thing that no one knows about Sis is that beard goes all the way down.
It's a black beard under the grey.
It's like a dickie, just goes all the way down the front.
Excuse me?
Dickie, too is Dickie.
He sometimes likes to weave it in with his leg hair and play it like a harp.
That is somehow disgusting and hilarious at the same time.
Oh, no,
You
leg
like
hair's
the
long.
leg hair.
It's that time of the night that we fall into depravity. It's like all the work's been done.
Giving away all my secrets. I'll shut up now.
But as always, if you want to be on the show, down below, head to the link comx.show/interest. Fill out the form. There's a couple of different shows that you can express interest in being on. So there's Friday Night Drink and Draw. There's Let's Make a Comic. There is the Oz Comics Show.
Yeah. Sorry.
And I
one.
believe that Chinwag is still in hiatus.
Yeah.
But keep an eye out. Keep an eye out for all the different shows that are coming down the line, because we'd love to see you involved. We'd love to see you on here. It doesn't take much; just takes you reading a comic and being willing to tell everyone about it. I just realized something that I kind of wanted to do as well, because Sis, Shannon, Justin, you guys have been on the show with me a couple of times now. But Dave, this is the first time having you on the show with me being the host. So I just wanted to actually just take a moment and just say, if you wanted to tell everyone just a little bit about you, a little bit about your history with Australian comics, and where they can find your work.
All right. Okay. Well, I've been part of comics since how long, Sis? Since
Since the beginning. You're one of the first.
Yep. So we got, thank goodness that Sizzle got the calendar organised way back when it happened a few years ago. And so I've been with comics ever since, and it's been a fantastic avenue to meet other like-minded comics creators. And I highly recommend anyone who's just happened to be watching, join the club. Get in here and get involved, because there's a lot of great people here. So we'd love to see anyone, all new faces are welcome. We love to see them on the shows.
Agreed.
So please get involved with us. We're not cliquey. We're quite friendly, and we like to have a bit of a joke, and we're very welcoming. What else? Except for Sears.
No, especially at the expense.
I said, send me the link, Sis, and he said, yeah, no worries, mate. And the night comes along and he ignoring me. And,
Tell him what happened.
I sent you the YouTube link.
I'm all set up. Anyway, that's history,
He said,
and that's part of
nobody,
it. Go with
nobody
it.
tell Dave. Nobody tell Dave.
Nobody
we're doing
told
it."
I was starting to get a bit paranoid. I was thinking, oh, they don't want me on. It's
Classics.
all good fun, and don't take anything too seriously. It's all good. What have I been doing? I've got a comic called Amazing Tales. This is amazing. That's one of them. That one's.
Beowulf,
This is
excellent
the most
comic.
recent one. That's the most recent one out. That's available in the comic shop.
That.
They're all
Nice.
available in the comic
Yep.
shop.
They're all at the comic shop. True.
I've been doing comics since 2016 or something. I did 2000, and before that I did the Anzac Legend, which is a book, a hardbound book about the history of the landing at Gallipoli, which is a graphic history. So I don't know if I've got that one of them in the portal handy. No, can't find one there. This is what I'm working on at the moment. You might be able to see. I do all my stuff on paper, all my work, hand lettered, and
Nice.
hand lettered, hand inked. I use a brush and Indian ink. That's the page I'm working on today. Here's a page I did yesterday or the day before.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
Well,
That's really nice, Dave.
That's amazing.
a little bit of action and humour. You can see the military side of it involved there. That's why tend to do. So yeah, that's what I'm working on at the moment. That's Amazing Tales number 9, which will be out when I finish it.
Can't wait.
I can't tell you when that'll be yet. Maybe another month or so.
Grab Dave. Chop chop.
Okay, all right, that's it. See you later. That's it for me.
Thanks, Dave.
We're fighting over who gets to
We're
take
fighting over the button.
Fighting over the button.
And you can find Dave's work in the comic shop. So you can find
Mhm.
copies of Amazing Tales. I've read the Amazing Tales Beowulf. Loved it. Thought it was a great book. Dave did a great job of breaking down an incredibly complex piece of English literature into an easy-to-digest comics format that gets the moral of the story, it gets all the beats, everything that you need.
Yeah.
And the artwork is fantastic. So if I can give you a recommendation, it would be to definitely pick up a copy of Amazing Tales Beowulf at a bare minimum. But you're going to love any of Dave's work. It's a lot of personality goes into it. It's fantastic. And
Thanks, mate.
you can often catch Dave on Friday Night Drink and Draw as well.
Yep.
And I know as a long-time watcher, it's always a pleasure to watch you draw live. I think that the quality of the work that you do sort of under that microscope is very high, and it's a pleasure to watch.
Thanks, mate.
You're welcome.
So this is where we'd normally play a video.
We'd normally have a video that would tell you where you can buy some freshly inked inspiration. And we tell you to go to the ComX shop. So that could be comx.shop, so that's comx.shop, or comx.net.au. Both those links will get you where you need to go, and you can pick up, honestly, some of the best indie Australian comics that are going around. I don't think that there's anything you can pick up where you'll be disappointed. You can pick up books by a whole bunch of creators that have been on our show over the past few months. And yeah.
I just got a count on them, and we are at 126 different issues.
Wow.
Not 126 comics, 126 different issues.
See, Dave's holding up some there. Detective
There's some
Budgie
from the
by
shop there that Dave's holding up.
Nick Cleary.
And if you're in Australia, it's $9 flat rate postage. So buy one comic, buy a dozen
Earlier,
comics.
he held up a
Buy
copy of
one
Outlaw.
of everything. Buy 126 comics. $9 postage. How's that?
Blade Whip.
Oh, Blade Whip. I love that one.
Is it Blade Whip? That's the name, right? It's Blade Whip?
Yeah, Blade Whip
Yeah.
by Shaun Craig.
Yep.
Yeah. Sean was going to be on the show tonight, but we had some technical issues, so hopefully we'll get Sean back on the show next week.
I'll try to solve them over the week. He could be on next. Oh, Presents.
Presents one of the books I was
Sis
talking
get off
about
his ass
earlier.
and finally send them. Oh, gee, wow.
And then Sizzle and Doug.
Yeah, I love that one.
Oh, we can't go through the whole list, mate. We'll be here all
Oh,
night.
wow, you've gone. I know you've come to the shop a couple of times, but I didn't realise it was that often.
That makes up
I've
for
got
the
an order here now, mate.
Books for $9.
You're now not only the best seller in the shop, but it looks like you're the best customer for the shop.
I've got another order in there. I hope you might be packaging up this weekend. Or
Yeah, it's right there. I've got to send it out.
this week. Good on you. Thanks, mate.
Yeah, we love that guy.
So that brings us to the end of the show.
Yes.
Another great week of recent reads. Thank you, everyone, for letting us know what you've been reading, what you thought. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and thank you for your comments. Like, share, subscribe. Like I say, we need to grow the channel, and we need your help to do that. So if you've got a friend who enjoys comics, just share the link.
Yeah.
Look us up on YouTube, give it a share. There we go, Nathan Judd. Personal message for Shannon Browning.
Shannon.
Oh,
I
thank
missed
you.
it.
You're going to miss him for a while.
Good on you,
We've always
Nathan.
had
Good on you, mate.
You're on opposing shows.
If you want to go back a few episodes, you can watch a sidebar where Juddy and Shannon go on a 45-minute sidebar exposition into the world of Transformers.
Love Fest.
But they literally transformed the show. They did exactly what
They
was
did.
on the book.
Yeah.
There was more to that than meet the eye, but anyway.
But we love you both. Anyway, you can catch us next week, 7 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. Until then, check us out on YouTube, watch the back catalogue, like, subscribe, comment, and let us know what you want to see. But until then, we will catch you next week. So thank you.
Night all.
Good night.